Hey guys, John Lemme here, the founder of Conservative Business Journal and our host of the CBJ Real News podcast show. And this is going to be such a real news podcast show for you. And back for round two, a great friend of ours, Vicki O'Brien, brilliant young lady, absolute strong Christian conservative, exposing the evils of Hollywood. And allow me to give a quick intro of Vicki before I bring her on for a second time on our show. And she's got a great, phenomenal presentation for you this evening. Vicki's a proud third-generation Texan who grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Although she never had aspirations of being in the movie industry herself, she became familiar with it at an early age due to her awesome mom being a working TV film actress. Joining her mom on various sets growing up, such as Born on the 4th of July and the TV series Dallas, she learned to appreciate all the work and effort that is put into bringing a production to life. After receiving an undergraduate education in biology with a double minor in chemistry and English from Texas Tech University, instead of going on to medical world, Vicki joined the ranks of corporate America. It was during this time that she was approached by an acting agent, once again, to consider representation. She prayerfully came to the conclusion that this was the path God had chosen for her. So she began her journey in the entertainment industry, and where God brought her to today through her experiences to expose, as you see tonight's show, it says actress and producer exposes the evil secrets of Hollywood. So the great Vicki O'Brien, welcome to the podcast show, young lady.
Hi, it's good to be back. You know, I was watching your intro, which I love, and I was just thinking, I'm so ready for YouTube to be gone
Oh, yeah.
and just be done. I'm so sick of them banning people.
I mean, banned, censored, shut down. And many of you know, all my listeners know, God has just completely opened up the heaven with all the interviews I've done and shows I've done. This is time sensitive. On February 11th, I was on Dove TV, national TV live this morning. It's gone viral. I was in a radio show out of Minnesota, another radio show out of California, another show out of Ohio. They are more than us. There were more of us than them. And one thing they're after is the children.
Yeah.
And, you know, so kind of expand upon your background, and then we're going to cover our great presentation put together tonight. Plus, we're going to cover the Alec Baldwin gun shooting situation, which I believe.
Yes, I don't want anybody to forget that. They're not talking about it, but we're not going to let that go. We're not going to let that stay out of the news because y'all need to know what really went down with that. But yeah, background, good grief. I'm eclectic. like you were reading with my background, you would think, did this girl get lost? How did she end up in this world? With a degree in studying to be a doctor, you know, out of college. And that's when I got red pilled, you know, as I told you before, kind of learning just how bad the system was, but not fully understanding everything that was going on until probably about 10, 12 years ago in that. So it didn't shock me when all this other stuff came out. However, there was a lot that I didn't know. But yeah, I've spent almost 20 years. I experienced in corporate America too, for a Fortune 10 and a Fortune 2 company. And then over 25 years kind of coincided with my time in the entertainment world, because the majority of my time in the entertainment world has been on the acting side. So just been in the producing realm more recently, probably the last 3 or 4 years. So have a very background.
You were in movies such as The Invincible, Murder Made Me Famous, The BTK Killer, Devin's Ghost, Legend of the Bloody Boy, and more. So you got experience behind the camera, and I believe God brought you to this journey in reference for you to share and unpack the evils of Hollywood. I mean, the secrets. I mean, your first show is going viral, and guys, I'm very excited. Vicki will be with us at a We the People Fight Back event in beautiful Naples, Florida, June 3rd and June 4th. Correct, Christy? And as you know, we bring the best of the best in, who are true conservatives, really fighting a good fight of faith, and really disruptors in their niche. I mean, you're disrupting and exposing in, you know, your niche, Vicki. So, guys, grab a pen that writes, take notes tonight. Any questions about anything Vicki shares? We've had questions from the last show, and we answered the questions and even referred you out to Vicki. And we have a great PowerPoint, a great slide presentation. So you guys can always call or text us at 561-847-3467, 561-847-3467, or email us at team at conservativebusinessjournal.com. And I do want to give a huge shout out to all of our new listeners that have come on board since I've been featured on Christian Broadcast Network, CBN News with Guy Lane, and also the Focus Today show today on Dove TV and all the radio stations and the other shows I've been on. I really welcome you to our community. And I say there's no such thing as coincidence. God puts you in a position so you can be exposed and reveal the real news. So Vicki, let's go. It's on.
Oh, we've got a packed show tonight with information. So last time I was on, I mean, I just want to say thank you to you and your audience for hanging in there with me, because I will tell you, as we're learning about everything that's going on, whether it's in the political realm or in the medical realm, there are some really horrible things, but some of the worst and some of the dirtiest and some of the hardest to really kind of conceptualize and for people to wrap their minds around is Hollywood's involved in a lot of that. And a lot of that still hasn't come forward. So we were just touching the tip of the iceberg at the last show. And I know it's hard. I know this is hard stuff to hear and it's not easy to swallow. So thank you for being here. Tonight is going to be, it's going to be tough stuff, but different. It's not going to be the hard stuff to hear that makes you cringe or look away. But we're going to kind of talk about on the business side of things, what they're doing, and how it affects each of us and what they're doing to us in ways we don't know it. And we're going to talk about how do we fight them? You know, so we expose what the problem is. So what do we do to change it? And how can we change it? We're going to kind of get into the nitty gritty and help you understand what they're doing and how it involves so much more than any of us can comprehend. So, you know, like I said, last time we talked about, you know, understanding they're indoctrinating our young people and us as a society. So how do we tackle this? How do we go about changing it? And I think the first thing we have to remember is that, you know what, our enemy is an evil genius, right? When you say they're evil, but they're not stupid. And they're really good at knowing their enemy, knowing how to combat them, knowing how to go against them. And man, I hate to say it, but as conservatives and Christians, we just don't do as good of a job at that. We're not as educated on that. So one thing we need to do is we really need to understand our enemy. And we need to learn and get the facts. So that's kind of what we're going to do tonight. So if you want to go ahead and start the deck presentation, I'm going to kind of talk about early. I'm going to kind of tag on some things because I want to catch you all up to speed. So you can go ahead and hit the next slide. And this is just some information just to let you know if you want to contact us. I know some of your viewers have our website. I am on Telegram and Gab, so you can get a hold of me on there too. And then the investment campaign link, and we'll hit that again. Sure. But if you want to go on to the next slide, I want to show you some new things that are coming out. And I'm just going to tag some things so you know that what we talked about wasn't something that ended a few years ago or back in the day. They're still doing this actively. So this is a new toy Disney is bringing out. And it's an Alice in Wonderland bakery set coming to Disney Junior this year. Now you may be asking, I have the hiccups, excuse me, what's the problem with this? Well, the things you see circled, those are Masonic prints. Those prints translate into very specific things in the world of Freemasonry, but also quite a few of those symbols are used in the pedophilia world.
Wow.
They're known
because I've seen people wearing shirts with those kind of circles on it, because I see you have it on top of her head and also obviously inside the little, I guess, whatever she's holding in her hand there.
And that little whisk. Yeah. They're pedophilia symbols. There's a chart that'll tell you, because keep in mind, these people can't go around saying the things they want to say or talking about it. So they use symbols and stuff because they know in the everyday world, a normal, rational person is not going to accept it. No. So, and this is riddled with it, anybody who's familiar with that. So again, this stuff they're still doing. Now, the next slide.
And when's this one getting released? Like you said, this one from Disney's being released
this year, 2022 for Disney Junior. Now, this next slide. This is a film. It's a title of a film that's going to be released next month from Disney Pixar. And I put this up here so you could see, and it tells you what the premise is up there. It's about a 13-year-old girl named Mei Li who turns into a giant red panda whenever she gets too excited. Now, people may be thinking, well, what's the problem? I don't understand. I'm going to just briefly hit on this because this is a very, very, very hard topic. And this is stuff that people are still trying to be exposed to and they're really not sure about. But let me kind of explain to you what they are doing here. And they're putting it in our face. This is sick. The reason why I put panda eyes up here. So I want you to understand something. Panda eyes is very real. I didn't bring the pictures that I have of little kids that this has happened to. But when you're talking in the world of the cabal and pedophilia, panda eyes are when, if you've ever seen, or, you know, God forbid, you ever see a picture of a little kid and their eyes are just black and dark and blue and they're beat up. That happens when little kids are sodomized.
It's horrible.
In this world, and because the pain is so excruciating to them that their eyes bulge, and from that it pops all the capillaries around there, and it pretty much destroys those capillaries too, because if they survive, they'll do it again. So it's like this is repeated to these kids that they take, and so that's kind of part of this world and where that comes from, and that's what the play is on. But also when it says she turns into a giant red panda whenever she gets too excited, keep in mind, in the world of these crazy evil Satanists, for adrenochrome, in order to extract adrenochrome in the purest form that they want it in, for what they want to get from it, the highs and the fountain of youth that they get from it, you have to get the kid to a very a fearful state.
It's horrible.
So
it's crazy.
That's what they are literally putting this in our faces. This is Disney Pixar, going to be released next month.
And I look at it, and to me, it looks like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. It does. It does look like a worked up Bernie Sanders, doesn't it?
Looks like a worked up Bernie Sanders, like the truckers are coming after you, Bernie. Like,
yeah.
it's like truckers convoy. Truckers are going to go to Vermont, even though Vermont just made it a horrific amendment to their abortion bill. Basically, you can murder babies whenever you want in Vermont.
Really?
The state Supreme Court, as of 2 days ago, looks like they're going to pass something. It's just horrific in the state of Vermont.
These people.
So, it's horrible.
These people. So I just wanted people to know this is who they are. It wasn't a mistake. And if I can, I'll address something right here, because your listeners are so good. And a few people did email me with questions, and someone did, and it's great. I try to get back to everybody that I could. But what I wanted to say was, when it comes to, I know it's sometimes with films, when I'm showing people, hey, and giving slideshow, and here's what's in this, here's what they put in this, a lot of people will say or ask, well, but I looked it up and I couldn't find that. And I love this movie and I haven't seen that. And I didn't see that in there. What people need to understand is that, at least with all your major studios, independents don't necessarily do this, but every major studio has more than one final edit of a film. They always have multiple final edits. And a lot of times that's because they're doing audience testing to see what they're going to keep. A lot of times they'll have different endings. They'll even sometimes have a different version they air in the theaters than what they air in DVD, what they put in the DVD. So just because you don't see it out there doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And who knows what format that's in. And different countries will get different versions too.
And that's also the same way, that's also they'll also play it too, just because they may drop the nice one in the blue states, the blue movie theaters. So then the radical left can say, look, it's not here. Meanwhile, they'll drop it into the conservative kids areas. I mean, they're criminals. I mean, they're the cabal. I mean, they're evil. They're strategic. I mean, they're communists. They're the enemy. They're gonna manipulate and take advantage as much as you can. So, I mean, that's why any of you missed the first episode of Vicki, just let us know. You can call or text us at 561-847-3467, or you can also visit our main website, conservativebusinessjournal.com. Go into podcast, click on library of episodes. You'll see it under O'Brien for Vicki's last name. A tremendous episode exposing so much that challenge people. And that's the only way you change is by challenging and exposure. You expose, you challenge. And as you guys do your research, you realize, wow, what she's saying, what she is sharing is real. That's tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of wanted to put that out there. Keep that in mind. They always hedge their bets. So you may not be able to nail them down specifically in one area, but yeah, if you've seen it, everything that I put out there was stuff from their products. So let's talk about, we'll go ahead and hit the next slide, because if you remember on the last show, I talked about the 6 main media conglomerates, right? And how they control more than 90% of everything that's out there. And this isn't even an exhaustive list, but I wanted you to see and understand what I'm talking about. With your 6 main media conglomerates, you have News Corp, Time Warner, Sony, Comcast, Viacom, and Disney. Viacom is the same as National Amusements. Put that on there because they merged. And Time Warner is getting ready to merge with someone else and getting ready to get bought out, from the rumblings I've been hearing. But if you look on here, you'll see They're controlling everything. It's not just your studios and your TV station and your regular TV stations or cable. I mean, you've got sports channels on here. You've got weather channels, cooking channels, everything. They are controlling everything. So now we're going to take a deeper look. We're going to go deeper down into the rabbit hole, and we're going to look at the streaming entities.
Wow.
I want people to understand these and what's going on with these, where we're going with these, because a lot of times people are saying, okay, we're getting away from cable. Everything's moving to streaming. It has been. This was supposed to be, I will tell you, a move in the industry that was supposed to gradually happen over time, but COVID has sped up the timeline by about 5 years.
Which was part, Vicki, just to interject, that was part of their plan. I mean, they knew driving people home, they control the entertainment. I mean, they control the distribution of information to control the kids. I mean, this was a complete plan. COVID lockdown, the mail-in ballot, stealing of the election, the whole thing was all part of the strategy. People pay attention. They've never had so much control of what's getting into kids' minds more than ever. No question about it.
I will tell you, it did speed up their timeline. They were always planning on doing this, but they just weren't having to do it as fast because they were still bilking money from people. But they've done a pretty good job of catching up to speed over the last 2 years. So let's look at the 5 major streaming entities, because I want to break these down, because I'm going to show you how this all ties in. Because one thing I want everybody to understand is we have to quit compartmentalizing all these different entities going on and thinking, well, entertainment's got its own issues. Politics has its own issues, with our government. Medicine has its own issues. And I see that happening a lot with our side. We're compartmentalizing it when they are all part of the same beast. They're just different heads of the same beast. They just have different functions in the system, but make no mistake, they work together. And that's what I'm going to show you. And we're going to take this and we'll tie in the stock market and everything else. So if you want to hit the next slide.
Producer Christy, director. See, this is Hollywood now, but the right Hollywood.
Yeah.
What about streaming?
So let's talk about streaming. Let's start with Netflix. Okay, there's more streaming entities than these 5, but these are the main 5 that everyone uses for the most part. Now, Netflix, here's what's interesting. They were the first ones out of the 4, because the last one we're going to talk about is PureFlix. So if you leave them out of the 4 major, they were the only ones that started off as a private company. Now, their CEO is Reed Hastings. There was another guy that started off with them. He's no longer there, but Reed is still there. However, Netflix is now a publicly traded company with 78% of the company's shares are held by large institutions, meaning the CEO, Reed Hastings, no longer has control over his company. So then when you realize it's a public company, which means it's traded on the stock market, and there are institutions that have a large controlling share, the obvious question to me, or the obvious thing to do, is go look and see who those institutions are who have the large controlling share. And when you dig down, can you guess what institution, what company has the largest shares? Vanguard.
It's crazy.
So Vanguard has controlling shares. We'll start, and I know you're familiar with them, John, and you'll hear their names more. So let's move on to Hulu. Now, Hulu was always, they were originally founded as a joint partnership between NBC.
Can I ask you a question? Quick question, Vicki, about Netflix. It doesn't say the name of Obama, a major Muslim Brotherhood, have a majority share. I mean, he's making hundreds of millions of dollars in Netflix. The Obamas now, right?
They do have share. They do have stock in it. They might have majority share. They just don't have the largest. Vanguard does, but yeah, they do have stock in Netflix.
So when you put Vanguard along with BlackRock and Obama together, you got the pits of hell.
So like people have to start paying attention, right. And it's funny because when we talk about the stock market, we'll go more in depth in a minute. And what's funny is that's public information. You should be able to find out anything on any company on the stock market, and you can on every company except for Vanguard and BlackRock. You can't find out who their shareholders are or who owns those companies, but you can everybody else. That ought to make everybody turn their head, and you'll see why in a minute. So Hulu started out originally. They've always been publicly traded because they started out as a joint partnership between NBC and News Corp. But I kind of like to call them the incestuous child in the media conglomerate world, because they've been they've been acquired a few times by all, one or all of the 6 different main media companies. But right now, they are owned by 2 conglomerates, 2 main media companies. Disney owns 67% of the shares. Comcast owns 33%. Disney has a controlling share in Hulu. So if you're looking at Hulu, just think Disney. Now, Prime. Let's talk about Prime Video. That's 100% owned by Amazon. It's a subsidiary of them. Amazon's publicly traded. They have been for a while. Who are the top shareholders in Amazon? Jeff Bezos, and there are 3. I'll give you a guess at the other 2. 3. Vanguard and BlackRock.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Are we starting to see a theme? Now, by the way, I want to point out something here, and I'm going to teach you and your viewers something here. And some of the viewers may know it, but very few people do, because this is an insider industry thing. But I want you to see this on Amazon. And this caught my attention because this is a big red flag to me. Last year, Amazon acquired MGM Studios. Now, why does that matter? See, MGM Studios, they not only create their own products, but they're a huge distributor. They have been for a long, long time. Here's what everyone needs to know. MGM Studios, they have the largest library in Hollywood of intellectual property by far out of any other media conglomerate or media company. Now, why does this matter? So, for example, whenever, let's say a movie that you like to watch, good grief, like Gone with the Wind. I'll just think of something that's out there. When you see it on TV.
Isn't it a racist or something, that movie?
Oh, I know. Yeah, of course. The white girl would pick the racist movie, right?
Yeah. Didn't they say something was racist going with the window? They didn't demolish that one yet, right?
Oh, there's something racist in every movie now, apparently.
Forget Vicki, sorry.
Probably because there's all white people.
Yeah, it's all white people.
It's racist because it's all white. It's only crackers in there. What? Yeah. So let's say you're watching that on TV. Well, in order for that movie to be shown on, let's say, NBC has to buy the rights to that. And that actually movies make really good money off that. That's where they make a lot of money, is off broadcast syndication and stuff like that. But so what happens when one company, let's say like Amazon, they buy the largest library in Hollywood of intellectual property? So what does that mean? What can they do? That means they control the titles to all those films, and they determine whether they get seen anywhere at all, and they determine who they get sold to. So it's possible they could bury film titles and you never see them again.
It's crazy.
It's very possible. And that is by far the largest library of intellectual property out there.
And that's when you're talking about. That's why I went full screen with us. That's you said. That's the key, is distribution. They control what we basically see. Distribution. So they could remove something off the consumer's potential of streaming it and ordering it and watching it. So and then they could pump other products through the search, through the algorithms of the independent subscribers for search. Guys, this is very important. Is they control the search when you search, and then you could have stuff come up that makes the subscribers rent or purchase or stream certain movies, and then drop Gone with the Wind, drop Rocky, drop my favorite movie, Rocky, drop the normal movies, Invincible, drop good old American movies to the bottom, and bring all the freak show ones up on top, because they control the distribution. Yep,
they do. They control it all. And so I'll be very curious to see what happens with certain titles. And you would have to know, what titles MGM owns and holds, but I'll be curious to see. That's a lot of power in the hands of Amazon. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's disturbing. It should disturb everybody.
Oh yeah, that's why it's time. Today's the time everyone starts. As entrepreneurs listening, you start building like you're building your entertainment company. Everyone starts building new ventures and new businesses, because God is no respecter of persons. I mean, as listeners right now, you have a dream. It's all I've been discussing in all my interviews: innovation, creativity, growth. I mean, it's time. So
it's time, and we can't work in their system. And that's part of what we're going to learn tonight, why we can't. That's part of what I'm going to lay out and show you why you can't work in their system. Right. So the next slide that we had up, so if you want to click on the next one, we're going to talk about Apple TV. That's going to be the next one. That's 100% a creation and subsidiary of Apple, which, as we know, Apple's publicly traded. They have been for a while. They started private, but they've been publicly traded for a long time. Who are the top shareholders in Apple?
Well,
Tim
yes.
Cook. Any guesses? Vanguard and BlackRock. So you're starting to see a pattern.
Amazing, isn't it?
Vanguard and BlackRock have controlling interests in all of the 4 major streaming entities people use.
Again, they control it. So, I mean, it's over. They control it. There's no.
They control it all. And we're going to talk about how and stuff in a minute. So now I have PureFlix up here, and then we'll talk about the stock market. And I want to talk about PureFlix here because I think your listeners may be really surprised with the information I'm going to give out. Now, I do want to say, I want to preface it with, please understand, I am not slamming PureFlix. I'm not saying they're bad. Don't watch your stuff. Is it subpar to where it should be in the main, to compete with everybody? Yes. But listen, they were putting out clean stuff. People wanted to see that it was going head to head with other things. So they gave people a place to go. I think it's great. I'm not slamming what they're doing in their mission. I just want to give people some information so that they know what PureFlix was. That's not who they are anymore.
And that's a key word. Their initial starting point, allow me, from my capitalism perspective, you start a business, stay with your core. Don't change who you are, your core values, your mission statement, your purpose. Because everyone's, when Bill Gates started out of his garage and started to bought the DOS system for $50,000, he didn't start out as a freak show. He started out as an entrepreneur. And now Gates has become just purely demonic. We all know that with Fauci and the virus and Wuhan. We all know all this. But he began as a computer nerd to build Windows. That's his expertise. He started out, and then they just went way crazy. So there's people listening right now. You can change the future of this country by making a decision today. And I truly believe that's why you guys listen to this and you're sharing this episode and you're following us. And it's just so important because the entertainment industry is wide open. But PureFlix started phenomenal. So I just want to interject there. So tell them where they were, where they are, and where they're going. Because I know some situations about PureFlix and their feelings towards patriotism and America. It's very slated.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So like I said, they started out great, but so here's what you need to know. PureFlix was founded by 2 guys, David White and Russell Wolf. They're the guys behind Pinnacle Peak Pictures. If you're not familiar with that company, they gave us the films Woodlawn, God's Not Dead, The Case for Christ. So some really good films. They were the guys behind that. They were the guys that started PureFlix. However, did you know that in November of 2020, in the height of COVID, when there was a bunch of crazy going on and everybody was trying to figure out what's happening, am I sick? Am I not? Dealing with all that stuff. PureFlix was acquired by Sony Affirm. PureFlix sold to Sony Affirm.
They use the word they sold out, gave in, took money for something they built. When you sell over you're controlling interest. It's a very important controlling interest because the interest of PureFlix in the beginning, what they're interested in was pure. But once you sell like controlling interest, your interest is controlled by someone else. That's just layman's terms of business. Keyword, controlling interest.
Yep. They sold it completely. They're done. And for an undisclosed amount of money. Under the dark of COVID, and you're not going to do that. I don't understand that. I don't understand why you wouldn't, but even that information is disclosed for stock market purchases. So I'll just leave that there. But why does this matter? A lot of people say, well, Vicki, Sony Affirm acquired it. Sony Affirm's a Christian film company and they're under Sony. They portray themselves that way. They probably don't share the same values. I would say keep in mind that you and I do as believers. Because again, Sony, controlled by Vanguard and BlackRock, controls Sony Affirm. So it was a way for them to control PureFlix. PureFlix was starting to get some momentum. They were starting to do some things. And so they wanted to get that entity. They wanted to pull it aside. They wanted to control it. So just know that PureFlix is no longer privately owned. It is no longer owned by the Christian men that started it. And I'm not sure what's going on with them, why they sold.
Because they sold out. Everyone pay attention here. That's why I went mainstream with us. So we're front and center on the show. They sold out. Everyone listening, I've been saying this, big problem, big opportunity. Chris, amazing. They sold out, Christy, right? And I've said it from the beginning. That's why when we got banned on YouTube and we got banned on TikTok and banned on LinkedIn and demonetized on Google, our website today got slammed when I was live on Dove TV. You know how much traffic we have on our website? Our viewership, our writers, we're writing unbelievable content everywhere. And we can never earn a dime again. Google demonetizes us forever on Google Ads. Now, we could have sold out to them. So you know what, guys? I will change my content, change my voice. I always say this. There are conservative voices out there today that will not say "Let's Go Brandon" on their shows because they're worried about being censored and banned. So in other words, they're working for the cabal. They're working for because that controls their voice. So everyone listening, that's why we talk about faith. And we talk about stepping out in faith. We talk about David and Goliath moments. And this is such an important part of the show because so many people don't realize PureFlix is not controlled by the great Christian guys that began. Those movies, the ones you mentioned, were phenomenal movies, but they lost their core.
Yeah,
they lost their core. Wow. Right, Christian?
So from here on out, don't expect it to be the same with PureFlix. And I would say, kind of what you're saying, you're right. I have seen what you're talking about, John, in the world of believers or so-called Christians that are trying to step out in the entertainment industry and do more, and that I actually broke ties with some people that were going to help our company and partner with us on something because I was not willing to cut any corners, and I was not willing to advertise via Facebook, Twitter, any of the other demonic adrenochrome sucking individual platforms in order to get investors, because I will not give them money. I won't give Google money. I won't give Twitter money. I won't give Facebook money, even if it reaches people. I refuse to do it. And there are plenty of other people out there who just see it as a means to an end. And
that's right.
I don't agree with that. It's not what it is. So I just wanted people to be aware. PureFlix is no longer PureFlix. Think of it like that. It's not the same company anymore. And here's the thing I want to point out. See, this is why faith-based filmmakers have done, and I want to say this, I want people to understand where I'm coming from, because the church as a whole, when I say the church, I mean us as a whole, we're all responsible for this in some way, shape, or form, kind of what's happened with society. Even if we didn't necessarily do something to promote it, we didn't do anything to stop it for the most part.
That's a key point. In other words, you allowed it to happen. I do give a recognition that my dad is on the show live. He watched you last time. He was all excited to watch you again tonight. So my dad texted me. He just said, "I'm on." So my dad is on. 92 years young.
Hi,
he's fired up.
So he's such a. I love him, and I have his picture right up here.
That's right, framed up, and that's right. He's the framer. He's framed.
Yeah, I love it. So the one thing we need to understand is a lot of people say to me, they're like, "Well, there's a lot of faith-based and Christian filmmakers out there," and I will tell people, "Yeah, there's quite a few." But answer this for me. If there's so many Christian filmmakers out there and they're doing a good job and it's making a difference, then why is Hollywood dirtier than it's ever been? Why are the products coming out, filthier than they've ever been? It's because they have not made a difference to change that industry or the world for Christ through what they're doing. And part of that is because of what we were just talking about. You cannot play in their system. You can't play in their system, because they're evil geniuses. And as soon as you go in their system, they're going to catch you in one area. And as soon as they get you, you're done. You know what? I say this all the time. Whatever God calls you to do, he'll equip you to do. But if you're not equipped, you'll get whipped. Every single time.
That's right.
If you're not equipped, you'll get whipped. And doggone if some of the people I've seen that have come into this industry because they don't have the experience, they don't understand it, they have good intent, they get whipped and taken out every single time. So that's why I want people to understand. That's why we can't work in their system. We have to go totally separate, and especially with the money, but anything else. And it's different. It's hard. And this hasn't been done before. And I know why, because it's hard, but it can be done.
Oh, it absolutely can be done. There's no question about it. Absolutely can be done. It can be done. Everyone listening, it can be done. It's like many of you know, I got banned on Facebook again recently. I'm banned. I have over 100,000 followers. I did a video. It's all a scam rant. Everything's a scam. It's all a scam. The virus is a scam. The vaccine is a scam. The boost, everything's a scam. Wake up. It's a scam from the beginning, and we have to expose it all. And that's the truth, but they obviously censor you. But I'm not going to change my voice. Everyone listening realize that. That's why all of you are sitting on, I believe, the greatest times ever. So it's powerful.
Absolutely. Speaking of a scam, let's talk about this. So if you want to pop up the slides back. So I want to show you a partial list here and explain this to you on the next slide when you pop it up.
You know, Chrissy? Go ahead.
Here we go. There you go. Now, these are just some of the stocks held by Vanguard. And I want people to take a look at the list and the names. And what you see in yellow, those are the stocks that are held by Vanguard and BlackRock. And I said, this is just, I could have made multiple slides listing companies going all day long. But what I wanted to show you and what I wanted to explain to you and what I want people to see, that this covers almost every area of our economy and of corporations. I mean, you've got, whether it's, PayPal, whether it's, Home Depot, banks on here, pharmaceutical companies, you have cellular companies, you have Colgate-Palmolive that makes things for the home, Starbucks. It covers every aspect of life where they've got their hands in. So friends, if you want to know how is it that they control comes to why are all these big corporations bowing the knee when it comes to COVID or anything else? They are being controlled via the stock market. Talk about scams. One of the biggest Ponzi schemes that has ever been perpetrated on the world in this country is the stock market.
That's right.
Christians, we have no business being in there. We have no business being in there because all it is a control scheme. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I will tell you, because I'm doing financing and raising money for this company right now, and I am one of the only, if not the only people staying private that's not going to IPO. And investors start running from you because they don't understand that, or they're like, why aren't you going to do that? And I tell them, do you realize what you do when you go onto the stock market? You lose control of everything because you don't get to say who gets to buy stock in your company and who doesn't. Anybody can. And I guarantee you, Vanguard and BlackRock are planning on buying stock in any company that does well and taking it over. And then they will get majority share because you see, we teach companies, we have this debt mentality, and we teach people in business to say debt is good. And investors do this all the time. As a matter of fact, they ask you, how many rounds of financing are you going to need to get going? As if you shouldn't be able to do one round, be self-sufficient on your own to take it from there. But they want you to do multiple rounds. Why is that? Because you sell more stock and they get more vested shares. And then more time, and when you do that, you give them more of your company. And eventually you do it enough times to where you lose controlling interest in the company. Right. And then other people are buying it. And Vanguard and BlackRock are just sitting there waiting. And they have acquired 95% of the companies that are publicly traded today. They have controlling interest.
I mean, it's amazing when you look at it. I mean, you look at all the vaccines and the boosters, they're right in front of us. I mean,
yeah, look, all the pharmaceutical companies.
All the pharmaceutical companies right there. I mean, it's such a scam, but we're at a Moses Pharaoh moment. You know, I've been interviewed so much the last 2 weeks, right, Christy? It's like, I just chuckle because God is looking for, look, we're at a breakthrough faith time. We're at an Abraham ready to sacrifice his son on top of the mountain. God had to trust him. Guys, we have to keep moving forward by faith every single day. You know, I mean, I look at these companies, to me, they're the Goliath. They're the Gideon. I mean, yeah. they're everyone that was when God said, walk along the top of the wall in Jericho 7 times and the walls dropped. I mean, but this is where you have to step out as conservatives. We have to make that decision because I'll go back on the screen in a second, but you have to realize you have to look at this time and go, oh my God, I can't believe it. Okay. That's where we're at. Now let's make a decision today and move forward by faith, by faith, step out and every day do something. And real quick, I just want to give station identification. So I was going to do it at 30 minutes. I looked up, it's 40 minutes because I love Vicki's message. I want to make sure all of you do follow us on Telegram at CBJ Real News, on Rumble at CBJ Real News, and also at Cloud Hub, CLOUTHUB, cloudhub.com. As you know, it's uncensored, no holds barred. We have no censorship there. Make sure you follow us on cloudhub.com. CBJ Real News, follow and subscribe. So once we release the news report, you guys get notified. Also, make sure you visit our main website, conservativebusinessjournal.com. and register to receive our emails. I want to thank the hundreds and thousands of you this last week. We got slammed today by people all around the country that saw me live on Dove TV. And I'm so excited because we got about 5 or 6 articles that we wrote today. We just published something today, Vicki. We got notice from Mike Lindell, as you know, is a great friend of ours. My wife and I were up there in Minnesota at a full day at his office a few months ago. And Mike Lindell today, thousands of pillows they're making today in his factory, Minnesota. And this weekend, they're driving them up to the convoy. They're driving them up to Canada.
Awesome.
So, I mean, that's Mike. And guys, as you guys know, you visit mypillow.com and use promo code CBJ. That helps out Mike. That helps out all his employees right now that's making all these pillows. He's sending well over 10,000 pillows, I believe, to the convoy. And you could see that article we just published on conservativebusinessjournal.com, and I'll show Mike's commercial at the end of the show tonight. Make sure you also subscribe to our podcast by going to conservativebusinessjournal.com. Click on podcast, and you'll see library of episodes. You'll see Vicki's first episode on the O'Brien. Everything is in alphabetical order. And then it says get the app now. Click on get the app now. Put the app on your smartphone. Listen to the audio of our podcast and share them everywhere. And we are now got ranked in 0.05% out of 2.7 million conservative podcasts. So we're very blessed by that, but it's consistency because of what we do every day and what you guys do, all the listeners do around the world by sharing the podcast episodes. So we appreciate that. Then guys, make sure you visit conservativemarketplace.com. It's our store. And I'll go through all that here in a few minutes. And I want to thank all of you that are also coming out to our Keep the State Red event on Saturday, March 5th. We're doing our event here locally. And I want to thank our supporters. I want to thank Cynthia, Paulette, Donna, Mark, and Carol. Daryl, as you know, this is a free event. I appreciate you guys supporting us and sending us some funds in for it to happen. We appreciate that. Also, our vendors, Paul and Sarah, Mark and Carol, and Latasha and Paul. That's Saturday, March 5th. KeepTheStateRed.com, a local event we're doing in Florida. We're about 90% full right now, so make sure you guys get your reservations in. So that's a short station of identification because I want to get back to Vicki. So, Vicki, you are awesome. So we're going to go on to the next slide.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. It's crazy. These numbers just.
I know, right? It's just crazy. So let's talk about something. Putting this up. We're talking about Alec Baldwin and the Rush shooting. So what I want to do is I want to show you how this complex and connected web looks and plays out in real life when we say they're all connected. And this story is going to explain when I say they're all different heads of the same beast, how they work together, government, Hollywood, and everyone. So let's talk about the Alec Baldwin shooting. It so conspicuously has disappeared from media, right? But it hasn't been resolved. So what I want to do is I want to give people a little more insight and an insider's POV of how this works behind the scenes and maybe what's going on from the set. It's true about this, okay? One, Alec was not only starring in this film, but he's one of the producers of the film, or he was one of the producers. Now, in case people don't know what a producer is, a producer, think of it as a CEO of a company. They handle everything on a film from beginning to end. Afterwards, everybody works for them. And typically there's multiple producers on a film. He was one of the producers. So the buck stops and ends with the producer, and he started it. Second thing, and he even said this shooting supposedly happened during a rehearsal scene. They were rehearsing for a scene. So I want you to keep that in mind. That's important too. Third thing is there were 2 people shot in this scene. One was the director. The other one was they call her the cinematographer. We really call him director of photography. It's the same thing, or the DP.
Ooh. Come back. See, we're talking about the Cabal's trying to shut it down.
On a set. These are crew on a film. So I want you to keep that in mind. The fourth thing is Alec claims it was an accident, right? That they were rehearsing for the scene, but he also says that the AD handed him the gun, which is the assistant director, and said this is a cold gun, meaning there's no bullets, it's good. So those are 4 things that are facts that are undisputed in it.
Can you recap them real quick, Vicki? Because you went out, like, talk about the Cabal. Literally, it was the first time he lost connection with you. It was like between 2 and 3, we got a little lost of the.
Yeah, definitely. Audio. I'll recap it because somebody doesn't want this information going out. Probably Alex somewhere. So, the 4 things to know that are indisputable facts about this, and Alec has even said all these. 1, Alec was not only the lead on the film, but he was one of the film's producers. Okay. 2, this shooting happened during a rehearsal scene. They were rehearsing for a scene. 3, the director of photography and the director were both shot. The director of photography, or the DP, was killed. Keep that in mind. And remember, these are crew. They're not actors, and they were rehearsing for a scene. And they were the ones shot and hurt. That's important. 4th thing, Alex claiming it was an accident, and he said that the assistant director on the film handed him the gun and said, this is a cold gun, meaning it's not live, it doesn't have ammo in it. I want you to remember all that. Those are indisputable. Alex claimed all this. And the reason why I want you to know that is because now I'm going to tell you why this story is complete BS. Complete BS. And I'm going to walk you through why. So let me give you some facts that unless you've been on a film set and you know how it works, you wouldn't know. And the media might know some of this, but some of it they don't know, but they're going to lie no matter what. 1, the media originally said, and I think they're still calling this a prop gun that Alec Baldwin used. Everybody needs to understand this. Please hear me on this. A prop gun can never fire a real bullet, period. Ever, 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 ever. It's a prop gun. It will never shoot a real bullet, ever. So if that was the case, something supernatural happened. Secondly, there's never a reason to have live ammo on a set. The only live ammo that should ever be on a set should be in the gun of the security you've hired to protect people on the set. That's the only live ammo that should ever be there.
And that's what you've seen. Obviously, you were on many sets in your career. You've never did you ever see live ammo before on a set?
No, never. And if I did, I would have been off that set.
That's right.
I would have been off that set in 2 seconds because I would have known something was wrong and not safe. And here's the reason. Because they're not allowed. They're not allowed to use live ammo. You see, there's only 2 kinds of rounds if you're going to use something and mimic it, and they're not even really used today, and I'll tell you why. You can use dummy rounds, which means they have no gunpowder, or you can use blank rounds, which means there's no bullets. Those are the only 2 things allowed on a set. However, most sets don't even have those. And there's a reason for it. There's 2 big reasons. 1, you can't use blank fire during the day in a scene because it won't catch the muzzle shot, the muzzle flash on camera. You won't catch it during the day. So it's kind of pointless to use it because you're filming during the day. You're not going to be able to see it. But the even bigger reason is the insurance cost to cover that, if you had it, would be astronomical to insure the film because they know there's a perceived danger there. So that's why they don't do it. Even your major studios don't do it. And here's the thing you need to know about this film. Rust is an independent film. And I happen to know what their budget was. It was $7 million. The films that we're making are going to be right at around that range, $7 million. There's absolutely no way an insurer would have covered them if they would have had dummy rounds on set or blanks.
So let me ask you a question, Vicki. As soon as you heard that happen, and we got a great picture to show. Why don't you pop that up there, Christy? Let me take that. So what went through your mind? Just as your area of expertise, it's your skill set God's given you. What happened when you heard that Alec Baldwin shot a gun and shot someone on the set and someone died? What was your immediate response to that? Did you put it up there, Christy? It's going.
You're probably going to like this. Yeah, there you go. So my immediate response was, this is complete BS. And to be honest with you,
sure,
I was out of town. I was in Salt Lake City. It was the night before I was getting ready to speak at a Patriot event. And I saw this and I was like, I heard it. And knowing some things I know about Alec Baldwin, and I'm gonna talk about a few things in a minute. I knew there was something going on, and this was a cabal. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know why I couldn't put everything together, but I knew the cabal was tied to this. I absolutely did. Because first of all, I know what protocol is on a set, and what they said happened. that happened. You're talking Alec Baldwin. How many years has he been in the industry? How many films have you seen him in with guns? Don't tell me this man does not know gun protocol.
That's right. That's right.
I don't buy it. He's been doing this too long. So, yeah. And not only that, with the current technology available in filmmaking, another reason why this wouldn't happen, you can mimic real bullets in post so well that that's what they do. So it would never happen. So would you like for me to tell you what specific protocol is for firearms on a set? You want me to tell you what they do? Because I think your viewers might find this interesting to hear.
Oh, absolutely.
To know. So you know what happens on a set. So anytime you have any kind of a firearm, this means even if it's a fake gun, a prop gun, this is a protocol. You should always have a weapons expert on set. And that weapons expert is who handles the guns at all times. So let's say you're getting ready to shoot a scene and there's a firearm involved. The weapons expert will get everybody who's going to be involved in that scene around in a circle. The actors involved and all the crew. Everybody that'll be in the room or in the area for the scene. Weapons expert, what he's going to do, he's going to show everybody the gun. Show that it's empty. There's nothing in there. He's going to show everyone individually. Then after, whether it's fake or real, then after that, he is going to dry fire the gun, he or she, sorry, I shouldn't say that. They're going to dry fire the gun into the ground, however many times it correlates with the number of bullets that can be held in the clip or the round. Okay, so he'll dry fire it in that many times. Then after he does that, then it will get passed around to everyone in the circle to look at to ensure there's nothing in there while they're all standing there. Then it'll come back to the weapons expert. Then and only then is the gun handed to the actor who is going to be using it in the scene. And everybody's still in the circle watching. Now, a smart actor will always say, do I have permission to dry fire into the ground? The weapons expert will say yes. Then a smart actor will dry fire themselves into the ground the amount of times that correlates with how many bullets can be held in that clip, because that's the first time you've touched it and you want to make sure there was no funny business, they didn't hide anything, something didn't get loaded. So you dry fire into the ground and then it stays in your hand the entire time. And as soon as you're done with that scene, it goes straight back to the weapons expert's hand. So it's like a chain of command, a chain of custody. It's never out of sight of anyone and everybody's always seeing where it goes. That's a protocol before you ever rehearse a scene or shoot a scene with a gun, whether it's fake or real.
I mean, that's probably the best breakdown ever, Christy, right? I've heard. Guys, this section, that was about 50 minutes into our podcast show tonight with Vicki O'Brien. That is a section you want to share and get out to all your. I always say this, we preach to the choir a lot. The goal is to expand our circle of influence. You have people that are especially the younger generation. What you just went through, how long it takes to dry fire and circle of people, the weapon experts, until the actor gets that gun in his or her hand. It's impossible that gun got to Alec through all that. So there was obviously something went massively fishy in there all the way. So guys, make sure you share this episode. Once again, this is why we do what we do, and we won't back down. And so I want to thank all of our sponsors and supporters. You guys make our business run. I mean, that's why we do this. We're not going to change our voice. I thank all of you. And even those of you on Keep It Stay Red, like someone sent in $10 for the event. I'm like, that to me is $1 million. $10, that's $10 added to support. The event's free. We give out food, hors d'oeuvres. We do an event to encourage and empower people. Don't realize that little bit, it all adds up, guys. So I appreciate all of you supporting and sponsoring what we do. And I can't express to you what you just went through. It's amazing, Christy, right? That's why there's no way. When we talk about Alec Baldwin, 33 Freemason, there's a lot there with the Freemasons and everything with him and his background. It goes real deep in that statement too. But it's amazing all that to go through before Alec gets that gun and one young lady's dead, shot, murdered, dead on a set. If that didn't expose her right there, wow.
I mean, that's proper protocol. Now, whether they did it or not, who knows? But that's proper protocol. I don't think they had a weapons expert on that.
I mean, like you said, Alec's been in 9 zillion movies. It's not his first movie. I mean, he's been in movies for 4 decades. I mean, he understands protocol for guns and weapons and all the movies he's been in. And
absolutely. Now, let me take it deeper. if she wants to pull the slides back up. So let me take this deeper, because remember I said that 2 people were shot were crew members? It was a director and a DP. If you want to hit the next slide. Just hang on there for a minute, because this is a lawsuit I'm going to talk to you about.
That's crazy.
But, but remember I said that there were 2 crew shot. Okay, so let's go over this. And if they were rehearsing for a scene, why would a crew member, keep in mind a director's behind the camera and the director of photography is too. The director of photography is normally running a camera, or if they're not, they're telling the camera operator on the main camera what to do. So if they were rehearsing a scene with a loaded gun, why were 2 crew members that are always behind the camera shot? Now I have some people that, why wasn't it the other actor that should have been in the scene they were aiming at? Why wasn't that the person that was shot? No one's talking about that. Now I've heard people say to me, well, Vicki, maybe he was shooting a scene where it was just him and the camera and the other actor wasn't there. Okay, I have an answer for you for that too, because there's safety protocol no matter where you are when you have this going on. If you are in a scene and it's an actor and just the camera, meaning they're getting a close-up or a POV and the other actor you're working with is not in that scene, and there is a gun involved, the director is typically off on the side anyways, not behind the camera. They watch on a monitor, but the DP, they will make that a stationary camera. There will not be a camera person behind that. They will be off to the side for safety. It's protocol.
That's crazy.
So again, how in the world are 2 crew people shot? Now, and also I'll mention this, actors typically, if they're in a scene, I shouldn't say typically, not everyone does this, but there are quite a few actors, if they're in a scene with another actor where they're having to aim a gun, act like they're shooting him, a lot of people feel more comfortable cheating it, and they will never point that gun at the person. They will cheat it to the side, and the camera, if they shoot at the right angle, you can't tell. A lot of actors do that. So, and not all of them, but a lot of them do. So anyways, I just say this, that this is, it's not adding up. There's too many things not adding up. It just doesn't make sense. Now, to let you know some news that came out, there were 2 lawsuits filed against the producers on this film and Alec Baldwin. One was by the gaffer on the set, and gaffer is a lighting technician. His name is Sergei Zvetnoy. He's worked on a lot of stuff. He's been around for a while, and he filed a lawsuit. I want to read a quote from his lawsuit. A lighting guy knew this. He filed a lawsuit against some of the film's producers, including Alec Baldwin, alleging negligence on the set. And here's what he said, and I quote, he said, Baldwin should have checked to ensure the gun was not loaded. He is correct. He said, even if someone handed it to him saying it was a cold gun. Remember what I walked you through in that circle? And by the way, an assistant director would never hand a gun. Not on a set that was running properly. It should have come from the weapons expert. Now, even more recently, here's a picture of Mamie Mitchell. She was the script supervisor. Now listen to this. Here's where it gets even fishier. She filed a lawsuit. You'll see Gloria Allred working with her there. She claims that the director, the producers, and even the script itself never called for a gun to be fired in that scene.
Wow.
What the stink were they rehearsing if there wasn't supposed to be a gun fired in that scene?
That's crazy.
Script supervisor will know that. Their job is to know that script inside and out, because they do script continuity when you're filming. Why would that woman come forward and file a lawsuit if that wasn't true? And the lighting person.
It's getting good. People standing their ground. They're standing by faith. They're not backing out.
Good for them. Good. And they should. So now do you want to see where this really gets interesting and interconnected? Now I'm going to tie it in. Let's talk about the DP. I want you to sit here on this for a minute. The DP who was killed, her name was Helena Hutchins. Now she's from the Ukraine, and she received a degree in international journalism there, and she's worked on a lot of documentary films as an investigative journalist. She did it over in the Ukraine, and she's done it some here in the US. She would do documentary films on the side with being a DP, because that was really a passion for her. Now I want you to take a look at this tweet. This tweet was deleted probably 2 or 3 days after the shooting, and when it came out, and it was posted in October of last year. Now, I want to preface this and say, I never met Helena. I did not know her personally, so I can't confirm that this tweet is authentic and real. However, let me tell you a story that I do know that's personal to me. I'll tell you what I can. There's some things I can't tell you, and why I do believe this tweet is absolutely real. and it's tied into what happened on that set. So, and if you want to see the next picture, it has a sweet picture of her and her son and her husband. And that's why I put it in there, because I wanted people to see she was a real person and she was very well liked in the industry.
That's crazy.
So probably almost 10 months ago now, I was on a phone call with an interested investor, actually his wife. She had heard one of my podcasts, and she's awake, and she feels like her husband helps investors for films, helps get films invested. And she wanted to see if there was any way they could help. And we were talking, and she was telling me a story that they were at this gathering with a bunch of people in the industry. There was industry insiders there and people doing financing and stuff. And she said, a lady came up to her and was talking to her and saying, hey, and she told me her name, but honestly, I couldn't remember her name at this point. But I did remember it later, and I knew, but I just can't give it out right now. But she was talking to her about making films and wanting their help. And it was something that whatever it was she was making the documentary, she's like, yeah, they weren't quite interested. She said, oh, but I have a friend. And she introduced her friend, came over. And the friend was talking to her and said, she's like, well, what are you working on? And because she said she was looking for funding. And she said, man, we're a documentary on Hillary Clinton. We have all the info, all the goods. We're going to bring it out. We're going to show people. And the lady I was talking to was sitting there, and she said she was thinking, oh, wow, this needs to happen, but I would be scared to do that. And you need to be careful. And she did say something like, man, that sounds great, but hon, you need to be careful, because anybody that goes up against the Clintons typically, doesn't make it, and kind of just left it at that, walked away. She knew she wasn't going to invest. Her husband wouldn't invest because of that. I will tell you this with information that I cannot give you. I know she was talking about Helena Hutchins.
It's amazing. I believe it.
So she was making a documentary film on Hillary Clinton. That was a hit.
Yep, I agree. And I know Dr. Betsy's listening. Dr. Betsy's right, Christy? Yeah. We talked about that when it happened. Dr. Betsy's knowing, and you'll meet Dr. Betsy, Vicki, at our event in June. She's one of our inner circle doctors. She's been on my show 15, 16 times. She was actually fired from a hospital in Florida because she wouldn't go with all the vax stuff. So she's been banned and censored from a Florida hospital. So, but there's no question. Now, guys, once again, this is the real news. You won't hear this on 99.9% of conservative voices because they're afraid. And even with all the interviews I've done, usually I'm always the interviewer in my show. I'm interviewing great people like yourself, and being on the other side, being interviewed. I said, when I started this, I'm not holding back. And I could tell you, people want the real news. They know we're in a war, and that's why you have to be protected. You have to be smart. You have to expose the evil like we're doing. First episode was so powerful on all the craziness and all the Hollywood movies with Disney and so forth. And now tonight, exposing the money driving the craziness. And this with Alec Baldwin, that the way you broke that down earlier about there's no way a loaded gun could ever get in his hand and go through that protocol. And then the 2 lawsuits right now. Right? My wife's an attorney, right, Christy, about the 2 lawsuits, right? I mean, that's people seeing it, saying something's not right. I mean, and it's important. People stand their ground. All of you stand in God. See, God will protect you when you stay in your ground. Don't be fearful to step out and say the right thing. I give you credit, Vicki, for stepping out and saying the right thing. And
nobody needs to. This man's out of control. He's been out of control for a long, long time, and he's been a puppet. So, and I point this out to show you the interconnectedness, that we've got to quit separating and thinking that that they don't work, that they're not this part of the same beast, because they are. They all work together.
That's right.
They just have different purposes they're accomplishing. So, and if you want to pop the slides back up, I want to show you something. And guess who is back to work now? If you hit the next slide. That is dated February 8th. He is back to work. So I want y'all to think about this, because I know your viewers will understand what I'm saying here. 2 people were shot. 1 person died, an innocent person who never should have had that gun pointed at them. Sorry, can't figure out how to silence this new phone.
Okay.
Never should have had a gun pointed at him. 1 person died, and no one was ever arrested. Alec Baldwin has never seen a day in cuffs. He is back to work now, but you have how many people that were arrested on January 6th at the Capitol that have been sitting in a jail cell and no one was shot, no one died?
That's amazing.
I want people to think about that. Everyone knows someone died. He knows someone died. And he's back to work and talking about.
And who's paying him? In other words, and he's getting paid. Like what movie sets he's on,
paid.
Who's behind him, who's funding it, who's the investors, who's he's getting paid. I mean, he's got a contract, he's got money. It's business. I mean, someone's paying him. It's mafia tactics. We have to build huge businesses to shut these people down. I mean, stop it already. You know, prayer is phenomenal. We got to get out of the prayer closet, get in the street and start building and developing, letting God direct you like Gideon, like David, like Abraham. I did not know this till tonight. I know Chrissy went through your slide deck, put them all together. And I said, I was going to wait to the show so I could see them with you. I didn't even know this. I did not know this until right now. That is he's an animal, disgusting. He's a murderer. He's a beast.
Yep. And he's back to work. And they're going to act like this never happened.
So where's he working? Like what
he's overseas. He's not even in the US, whatever he's working on, whatever film it is, he's overseas.
How crazy is that? That's disgusting. Guys, somebody's got to take this show tonight and step out in faith. As you know, you see my sword, grab the sword, get the sword from Goliath and go and take the slingshot. It's time. That is horrific. That's just horrific.
It's horrible. It's bad. Now let me ask you this: do you want to keep going? Do you want me to talk to you about Georgia? What's going on there and state film tax incentives?
Yes. So is that the final slide on the deck? Yeah. So talk about the tax incentives for Georgia. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. You go. Perfect.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. So I just showed you kind of how they're interconnected and why we can't work in their system. Now let's talk about this. A lot of people may not know this, but numerous states have tax film incentive programs for films out there. Every state but 10. So only the states that are in white do not have some kind of a tax film incentive program. So let me explain to you what this is. This was originally set up by states to help independent film production companies be able to afford to make their films because they don't have access to the money that the major studios do. And it was supposed to bring revenue into the states. Now that sounds good and innocent in and of itself, right? Doesn't sound bad. But however, like everything else, the big studios hijacked it, which means the cabal hijacked it. And so let's talk about how this affects you. Because a lot of people tell me, well, Vicki, maybe I don't have cable. I don't watch TV. I don't go to the movies. So I don't give them my money. So I'm doing what I need to do. They still get your money. This is how. Let me tell you how sick and evil and twisted these people are, and you don't know what they're doing. And most of your state congresses have no idea what's going on. I mean, like I said in Branson, I mean, bless their hearts, most of them are so confused. They don't know whether to scratch or watch or wind their butts most days. They have no idea what's going on. They need us telling them what to do. They have no idea what's going on when it comes to this. So, like I said, this was never originally intended for the studios. They don't need the money. They have sources to get their money. This was for independent production companies. However, the studios now are getting the majority of the money in these states. Why is it? Oh, they already bankrupted the source they were doing before. They bankrupted so many insurance-backed companies. It's a long story. I won't get into it. In the 90s, when they were having their heyday, and entertainment banks would finance 100% of their production budget, they had to get backed by insurers. Well, every single one, the insurance policies were getting called in, and until it was like billions of dollars being spent. So insurers said they stopped it. They no longer let them do it because you see, the studios won't use their own money. They want to use someone else's. So when they couldn't get it from the banks, where did they go? They came to the state programs that were being offered to independents. Now, here's how this works. Here's what you need to understand. It's a system that's based on a % of the budget of the total spend of the film. So however much the total spend of the film is, there's a certain percentage you can get back. Now, some states have capped budgets, that there's only so much money they'll give out total. But there are some states that don't have a cap. Now let's get to
such as Georgia, you said, because I'm good friends with Dr. Candace Taylor. I support for governor against that radical Kemp, who totally stole the election with the Secretary of State.
Well, you want to know? I'm going to give you my theory on what I think happened to Georgia, and I'm going to tie it into all this. How in the world did they get so bought off? A red state. How did they get so controlled? I am almost positive it has to do with Hollywood and these tax film incentive programs. And here's how. Because Georgia, their tax film incentive program, up until last year, 2021, they gave the highest percentage back at 40%. And they don't have a cap. There's no cap. Why do you think the studios are doing the bulk of their filming there? Because the typical studio film on the low end is 30 million. And then go anywhere.
Let's break that number down, Vicki. So you're saying 30 million. So it's the state of Georgia receives what in an incentive, something that motivates them, gives them the incentive tax wise to do all that there.
Well, typically every state's different in what they require from a film company when they come in and do it. But what the motivation was for the states was it's supposed to bring revenue into the state to where people are coming in, they're spending money. So the state's getting tax dollars, they're getting revenue in. However, it never balances out. And let me show you this because let me give you some numbers that came out from Georgia. So keep in mind, up until last year, prior to 2021, they gave 40% back on a film spend, and there was no cap. Meaning, however many films wanted to do it in a year, that's how many got it, as long as they qualified. So let me give you an example. Let's say I own a major studio, I was coming in, or let's say The Avengers or The Hunger Games. Those were all filmed there. They had like $100 million budgets. Let's say you have a $100 million budget for that. You're in a state where you can get 40% of that back.
That's insane.
Do the math and think about that. That's 40 million. And here's the deal. That's not a write-off. That's cash back.
I want everyone to say what you're saying. $40 million back to you.
$40 million back to you, as long as when you turn in all the receipts, they check them. It's approved. The state cuts you a check. It's in your hand. That's taxpayer money, friends. That's your money. Any state you're living in, it's your money going back to them. And the studios are doing that in as many states as they can, but Georgia's overrun by the studios right now because of their program. So you may think this isn't big. Let me give you some numbers on Georgia that came out. For 2021, Georgia is saying that their TV and film incentive spending was $1.2 billion in 2021.
Saying that.
$1.2 billion.
That's $440 million back.
That they gave out.
Yeah.
Well, oh, no. They spent $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
$1.2 billion that they gave out. I don't know how many films that was, but $1.2 billion.
Oh, okay.
Now, keep in mind the TV and film capital states of California and New York, each of those, they cap their spend at $420 million a year. That's more than double what California and New York pay out.
That's right.
And it's 40% higher than their previous record they set in 2019 of $860 million. So you're telling me prior to COVID, you gave out less, and in 2021, you hit over $1 billion in what you gave out, and in 2019, at the height of everything before COVID, you were only at $860 million. I thought all these productions were shut down due to COVID. Help me out. It's not making sense.
It's not making sense.
And then here's the thing. I'll wrap it up by telling you this, that there was a state audit in 2020. Check this out in Georgia. And they found that the economic benefits had been significantly overstated by the state of Georgia. So I want you to listen to this, especially if you're in Georgia. Here's what they found. They found that the credit of what they gave in 2016 total to all these films, it only generated right under 11,000 direct jobs in the state, meaning that people from the state of Georgia were directly hired and benefited from it in 2016, when 23,000 jobs were total for direct and indirect. So they brought in more people from outside the state than they employed people in the state. However, so total, do the math, it was total 23,000 jobs. That's how it was supposed to benefit them for 800 and something million. However, the state said it produced 92,000 jobs.
Completely.
They upped the number by 70,000. There is so much lying and corruption going on. I guarantee you there are kickbacks happening with those government officials. They're all bought off. And why are they bought off? Who's
Dr. Candace Taylor hears about that with George. That's in Hollywood. We all know Hollywood tends to vote liberal. Hollywood tends to vote left. They can't stand us Christian conservative values, and they're just
Hollywood's funding the cabal in the government in Georgia. I have no doubt about it.
Wow.
Hollywood is behind it. It's their money.
Wow. Wow.
That's where they're getting their kickback from. You want to know? Look at your tax film incentive program. You are doing it to yourself. And they're using taxpayer money to do it. The citizens need to lose their minds on this. They need to lose their minds on it.
That's crazy. That's
it doesn't mean now. Let me say this. I do want to preface this, and we can be done on this because I want people to understand the tax film incentive program. I'm not saying it's bad. States should have it, but it should be a low percentage, in my opinion. Living in a conservative state, and it should be for independent films only. It was never meant for the studios. Kick them out. Kick them out. Take it down to 20% or lower and keep it there. You won't have this problem.
Yep, absolutely.
You won't have the problem. But Georgia, that's where your problem is. You need to get the studios out of your state.
And that's where was one of the big actors down there. Who's the actor down there?
Are you talking about Tyler Perry?
Tyler Perry. Yeah, Mr. He became Mr. Politician too.
He owns his own studios there. You know what? If he wants to work and do it, that's fine. He lives there. It's being funded in the state. It's all the other studios coming in from outside. But they partnered up with him, and he probably I don't know. I shouldn't say this. I don't know if he was part of the driving influence in getting a lot of the other studios there or not. But Georgia actually owns their own studios. The state owns some of the studios. It's the only state that I know that owns studios, which means their taxpayer dollars are going into that. So
that's crazy.
There's a mess going on in Georgia. But if you want to know how it got tripped up politically and where their buy-off money is coming from,
that's crazy.
Right there.
All right. Hashtag ditch Disney. We got a few more slides and wrap it up. You're awesome, Vicki. Thank you for your time again.
No, that's it. If people ask where to start with Disney. That's one of the easiest places. Just get rid of it. And then that's information on our company. It's our website. You can follow us on Telegram. That's where I spend most of my time. I am on Gab too. And then there's a spiritual podcast on Podbean and Spotify that I do. But also too, listen, we have to ditch these companies, but we have to replace them with something. And that's what we're doing. And right now we're looking for, investors to join us. So you can go on the website and see how to do that. And then last thing on here, on the website.
Let me give out your website because let me give you a website, especially for those. Obviously, we have tens of thousands of listeners through our audio podcast platforms. We're on every podcast platform out there. So Vicki's website is relevantentertainment.net, RELEVANT entertainment.net, relevantentertainment.net. Once again, relevantentertainment.net. And you can follow her also on Telegram at Relevant Entertainment TX. And Spotify, she has a podcast and all that good stuff. So it's awesome. But guys, follow her, relevantentertainment.net. Everything's on there. And it's so important because this is the rising of the remnant. And her expertise is entertainment. Her expertise is obviously God put you through 20, 30 plus years along with your mom's experience in the entertainment world. And God's creating a revolution. I mean, the truckers have proved everything. Our last interview, we didn't talk about truckers. The truckers that existed God knew that was going to happen. There was truckers that said one day, you know what? Enough is enough. The same as a trucker said one day, you get 10, 50, 20, 30, 50, 100 actresses and actors who say, you know what? Enough is enough. And you storm Hollywood and you create a convoy. And it's so important for all of us to realize that. I know my industry is sold out. The media people will get afraid because you'll go through a dry season. So you find your supporters and sponsors, and then God will bring it all in. So it's phenomenal. Christy, any final points for Vicki tonight? Oh, one last slide. Go ahead, Vicki. Go ahead.
Oh, no, just on this, it's a verse, 2 Chronicles, and I just challenge everybody with this. And I'll leave you with this to let you know I want to share with you what we talk about internally in our company. And that is, yes, we're industry professionals and we want to create great entertainment at the highest quality possible so that we're running head to head with these studios. But that's not our mission. Our mission, we're on a rescue mission in Hollywood.
That's good.
Our mission is to go and rescue those people that are creative, that are in this industry, and they're being held captive by this evil industry. They're working in it. They don't know. They don't have a way out. They just want to do this. And a lot of them need to hear who Jesus Christ is. And when the truth comes out of what's happened, these people are going to be devastated and destroyed, and they're going to need to know there's a way out. You can still work in this, and they're going to need hope. And that's what our mission is to go inside that industry, to storm it, to take it over. But it's for the hearts of those people that are in there that have no idea what's going on.
And I mean, some of them too are waking up going, I just found out tonight, Alec Baldwin's back to work. They're like, that's wrong. Like, and that's where the heart of people, the spirit God gives everybody a spirit of integrity and honor. Then it gets manipulated in this world. And that's what this revolution is. I mean, there's going to be an actor and actress revolution. There's going to be actors convoy, like there's a truckers convoy. People are going to get together and realize there's more of us than them. I can't express to you the power of that. That's when I talk about my book, Making Capitalism Great Again. That's what's going on. We're making truckers great again. We're making actresses great again. We're making it great again because the soil's there. You're obviously in Texas and storms have come through. And I've said this all the time. It can wipe out what you see physically, but that soil, you plant a seed in the soil knows what to do. And in life, many of you listening, I have to give you so much credit, Vicki, because you're going after the huge market there, and it's tremendous. And thank you for your time. And I'm so excited for you to be with us in beautiful Naples, Florida.
Me too.
June 3rd, June 4th, 2022. It's going to be a phenomenal, our We the People Fight Back event. And I want to thank Audrey and a friend from California got the tickets today. Our events, as you guys know, my events, we always sell out 200 people, 5-star first class VIP dinner, VIP lunch, VIP. Everyone's a VIP. All the speakers are there the whole time. There isn't like 9,000 speakers for 8 minutes each. It's a high class event. You guys know that. So make sure you guys get your reservations in for that. Vicki is confirmed, and she will be here bringing the entertainment heat to our event. So we're excited about that. And you guys can always call or text us at 561-847-3467. Email us at team at conservativebusinessjournal.com. And real quick to you guys, once again, make sure you visit conservativemarketplace.com. We have 38 vendors on now. 5% of all of our purchases goes towards Heartbeat of Miami. As you met Martha saved 60,000 babies from abortion. President Trump brought her out to the White House. We did a huge auction for her at our event. So 5% of proceeds goes to Heartbeat of Miami. Take a look at all the products and services on there. We have a new pet bow tie and a pet bandana. We have a patriotic pets now. Products on there. We have all our health supplements, all of our books. And make sure, once again, mypillow.com, promo code CBJ. Guys, Mike is investing tens of thousands of dollars this weekend, over the weekend, shipping, going up there Monday, Tuesday next week. So, guys, when you visit mypillow.com, use promo code CBJ, and everybody wins. And there's more of us than them. Any final words, Christy, for Vicki? Tremendous, Vicki. Just absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, good. I know the news is hard, but as long as we'll take it on head to head, we'll be good. We stand together and take them on. We'll defeat them.
That's right. That's right. Well, guys, good night. God bless you. And thank you for following us on all of our channels on Cloud Hub, Rumble, and Telegram at CBJ Real News. And Hallie from Ohio. 73 years young. Hallie, will see you in June at the event. You're going to love meeting Hallie. Her husband's 81. They've been around me for many years, and they got inspired back, and they came to my event in April, heard some news about just how horrific the education books are and what's going on with the pornography in the books. And she's an old-time kindergarten teacher. Young lady at 73, but taught kindergarten for many years, school teacher. And her and her husband, Steve, at 81, they started a group in July. We wrote an email together, and she sent it to 25 people. 5 people got together for a little cup of coffee at the Dog House in Ohio. Now they have a group that's close to 400 people they put together. It's called America First Group out of Ohio. I was up there in November for a full one-day event. They had pastors from a church out. They had the sheriff come out. That's America. Steve and Hallie, we're so proud of you. You are awesome. And that's America. 81 years young, her husband Steve, and 73 healthy, strong, vibrant, patriotic Americans. And I know she's going to share this, what she does. She takes this podcast. I know she's going to share this podcast to her group in Ohio. So, Hallie, you're awesome being on live. It's tremendous. That's powerful. So, Vicki, you're changing lives. It's on.
You know, God's doing it. He's using all of us just like he's using you and everybody else. So we just have to say yes. God will do amazing things through us. And I would say we need to be on our knees, and we need to have a shovel in one hand, you know, and a gun in the other, ready to fight and work at the same time.
That's right. Second Amendment, game on. That's right. Thank you, Vicki. God bless you guys. And thank you guys once again, Sharon. Thank you guys. Good night, everyone. Phenomenal.